One of the things that we talk about is the fact that what kind of roles should gain prominence in the next 5 years. Now, whether or not those roles can continue to be, whether in engineering or product or management and strategy. Now, what you see in front of you are a pick list, an indicative list of what is it that one would need as far as competencies are concerned. So let me just take a minute to have you read through what is mentioned in the slide. And once we get through this, there would be those key toolkits of what is the mindset that one need to have to make sure that you build up your capability, whether or not in any of those roles that one would like to have. The first mindset that I'm talking about is having a digital mindset. What this means is in terms of digital fluency, in terms of data analysis and interpretation, in terms of decision making. The fact that any decision can be made in terms of data and the derivatives of how is it that we interpret that data to ensure that we need to know that there is a decision that can be made, a suitable decision by analysis and its interpretation. So that's what digital mindset is. The second mindset is to keep the customer in the center of what products we build, what services we deliver, and what experiences we share. So the first here at Hero, what we focus on is customer service, customer understanding, and building relationships. Now, it's a very interesting thing what we kind of focus, and we are looking at how do you build the future of capability within the workforce, is the fact that the kind of authentic, deep relationships that we have with each other, whether or not it is with our employees or stakeholders or dealer partners or suppliers, is also the fact of how quickly we run our agile systems and we interpret what kind of products are launched into the market. And maybe this is the point where I would be excited to hear from the audience here if they would have heard about our latest new launch. How many would have probably looked at the newspaper this last week to know that Heroes launched a new Vida? Anyone who knows, who could search on Google, can probably type it down on the chat. What's the latest that Hero MotoCorp Vida World has launched? Which product? Okay, great, great. Thanks, Ayush, for being the first right answer. No, Shana, this is a scooter. It's actually a e-wooter. If you haven't seen the ads, you should definitely go to YouTube, have a look at it. It is all over TVCs. Yes, Lavanya Parth, thanks for calling that out. Let's move to the third mindset, which is one of intentional collaboration. There was a huge organization-wide study that we did for front-end workforce in the commercial business in one of the businesses called India Business Unit. And we called out the fact that if there is anything that our people need to be is intentionally collaborative. It is superbly articulated in the mission that we have of create, collaborate, and inspire, which is translated again to our mindset of collaboration, of how do we manage conflict well, and how is it that we work together to drive team outcomes. So this, again, the third mindset becomes increasingly important. The fourth mindset is that of success mindset. And of course, it has various perspectives of the drive for results, the agility, the innovation, and entrepreneurship. With this, one of the things that we realized pre-COVID of how the world was volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous now has changed to another lovely abbreviation called BANI, which is the world being brutal, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. While a lot of our support has come in through mentors, through family, through partners, through friends, of how we perceive the change to happen. And of course, we've had the chat GPTs and the Geminis of the world to help us understand and appreciate where this is going. This is not so bunny anymore. As long as you have the support of institutions like BMU, of organizations like Hero MotoCorp, of how they could drive value and help you build a career in the workplace. Let's have a quick look at the video.
There is something going on in the world of work today. Some kind of a evolution that's forcing organizations to think differently about what it means to be an employee or a manager, and even what it means to actually work. There are 5 trends that are causing this evolution to happen. 5 trends that are forcing organizations to challenge everything they know about work. These 5 trends are globalization, mobility, millennials and changing demographics, new behaviors, and technology. Globalization is causing the world to become like one giant city. The language that you speak, the culture that you subscribe to, the currency that you transact in, and where you are physically located are all starting to matter much less. This means that organizations can tap into talent anywhere in the world. Mobility is allowing us to stay connected to people and information anytime, anywhere, and on any device. This means that work is no longer a place you go to, it's something that you carry with you in your pocket wherever you are. Millennials are expected to comprise 50% of the workforce by 2020 and 75% of the workforce by 2025. Millennials are digital natives that expect and want to work in ways that reflect the year we live in. Most people live in 2015, but work at companies that operate like they are in 1975. Although millennials are driving enormous organizational change, it's important to remember that the future employee is anyone that is changing their behavior and mindset to adapt to the changing workforce. This means it doesn't matter if that person is 22 or 62. New behaviors are rapidly entering our organizations. For example, we are all comfortable living a more public life. We share our thoughts in blogs, post reviews on Yelp, have our entire professional history on LinkedIn, share pictures on Instagram, rant on Twitter, and engage in open conversations on Facebook. In fact, virtually every aspect of business behavior has changed, including the way we share, communicate, collaborate, teach, learn, find information, access technology, and create content. This is forcing organizations to fundamentally rethink and reimagine the way we work. Technologies such as big data, wearable devices, collaboration platforms, the Internet of Things, and cloud computing are enabling us to work in new ways while keeping us more engaged and productive. In the future of work, technology is the central nervous system of the organization that enables everything else to function. Together, these 5 trends, combined with an unprecedented war for talent, is forcing organizations to shift their mentality from creating a place where they assume employees need to work there to creating an environment where employees want to work there. When we think about the future of work, the organizations that can most effectively make this shift from need to want are the ones who will be able to attract and retain top talent. This means that if your organization doesn't think about and plan for the future of work, then your organization will have no future.
So one of the things that keeps us thinking is how is it that we be ready for the next phase of the corporate world? And for that, while I understand that most of you would be apprehensive and looking forward to what is it that would keep you awake to ensure that you step in with all the capabilities and competencies and the toolkit that you have, More than you, it is the organizations who are worried, organizations like ours who want to make sure that irrespective of whatever multi-generational workforce that come in, we need to ensure that everybody, each and every one of you, now whether it is a Ayush or a Paras or a Mridul or a Neha, and obviously Lavanya and the rest of you, would be able to understand and appreciate and call by themselves to the brand that they want to work with. People today, they are not joining the workforce only because of the fact that they need a paycheck at the end of the day. They are joining because of the fact they believe in the vision of the organization that they decide they choose to work with. And that is what we at Hero MotoCorp sincerely are wanting to try to ensure that we build the future of mobility. And with that, we make a difference in all lives who impact us.
Wow, Parul, that was like very beautiful. So, what is it you're working for? Is it a paycheck or is it your passion, your your drive to be in the job that you are in? Very beautifully said. And I think that sums it up to say that with all the AI, that is something that is being designed by somebody, but that intrinsic motivation that humans are known for is something that cannot be replaced by an AI. That intrinsic motivation of working for your passion is something that only a human can contribute to. And you so very beautifully summed it up to say that the future is about digital mindset. It is about customer mindset, which innovation, emotional quotient, and all those things, to my mind, becomes very important there. The collaborative mindset and the success mindset. Very beautifully said. So, to everyone here in the audience, what are your reasons of undergoing the program that you are? So people who are graduating in 27, 28, and 29, is it because you are looking forward to have a fancy job at the end of the program? Or is it because you are very passionate about the subject that you are wanting to pursue? Both. Manas, I love the honesty there. Passion is what, okay. That's amazing. That's great. Passionate about genuinely going deep into the topic. Love your responses, right? Right. So we have passion for coding, passion for the discipline that they are pursuing, and of course, if that's uh, doubled up with a good fat check, Parul, that's kind of the icing on the cake. So, Parul, in the interview process, so irrespective of, so we might have BCom, BTech, BBA, all these students, MBA students in our audience. So, to your mind, in the recruitment process, right, during their education time, um, what are the kind of things that the students should be very mindful of, very mindfully gaining from their university experience to be able to make place for the in the organizations that they are passionate about?
Well, Dr. Jaskiran, this is a very close to heart question. So thank you so much for asking me this. What I tell our students whenever we have campus to corporate relationship meetings like these is the fact that there are 5 things that students need to start doing immediately. The first is they need to know that it is a harsh world, it is a competitive world, and the fact that they need to make sure that they learn to use tools that people are using in today's world, which means they need to build digital fluency. Now, even if you're not a coder, you can play with tools like ChatGPT, Power BI, or Figma. It's less about mastering tech and more about being confident and getting used to the technologies that are being in question right now. The second is work on real life projects. Now, what this means is make sure that you are a part of any competitive club in the college that you are a part of. Make sure that you go ahead and raise your hand when the professor is asking if they need some help for any kind of problems that need solving. You can help a local business go digital. You can be a social media influencer. You can build a pitch deck for a friend's startup or your own startup, for instance. So that's the second thing that ideally we would recommend. The third is choose internships mindfully, where you are wanting to get your hands dirty, not just do a shadow work. Ask questions, support outside of the work that is being asked of you. Take initiative. You will always be remembered. This is typically what we tell our employees as well. So this is a very important part of how is it that people look up and take notice of you. The fourth is using platforms like Coursera, LinkedIn Learning to build niche skills. Now, for example, a 10-hour project on GitHub or Notion could teach you more than, while I know, Dr. Jaskiran, you might not agree to this, but it could, while in their own,
Absolutely.
learning bit space, it could teach us more than probably a 40-hour lecture. And we should be talking about this offline as well. Finally, make sure that you build up your executive profile. What I mean by this is make sure that you all have a Gmail address, right? Go to the drive, open up a Word document, and start putting in your target items of things to do that you would want to accomplish on a yearly basis. Identify the top 10 tasks. It can be a professional or a personal target for you to call it out to say, this is what I would need to do. Break that down into small goal activities to say, by the first quarter of this year, I would like to do this. And once I do this, this is the second bit of phase two that I would like to keep up. Once we have this, the journey from campus to corporate is not going to be one simple step. It's not a jump. It is a series of micro steps. And once you take one step intentionally, they all add up to you being where you would want to be. And for that, you could then call that you are successful. Let's have a look at the 5 trends from the AV. We can probably come back to that later. As far as the goals are concerned, it is not the fact that you could be enthusiastic about doing that. What we recommend is to have a consistent approach. You can be nice to yourself and say, oh, today this is not working. Take a step back, hold on, but it should be that you are coming back tomorrow with renewed vigor on this. That's all from my end, Dr. Jaskiran.
Yeah, but Parul, very beautifully laid, and I'm so glad to hear that, because this essentially means the students, while the opportunities can be provided in a university, it is very important for the students to very proactively seek that. And I think I couldn't agree more to you when you said that 10 hours of a GitHub project can be way more useful than probably sitting passively in a classroom for 10 hours. I would go to the extent of saying 40 hours, because it has to be involved intrinsic learning, right? So like there is this proverb, right, which says that if you break an egg from outside, you can just get a scrambled egg or an omelette. For a life, egg has to break from within, right? And when somebody is working on a GitHub project, that is something out of internal motivation. It is not something because the teacher asked the person to. And I'm so glad that you brought it up, because here at BML Munjal University, active learning, experiential learning, critical thinking. So if I'm a teacher and I'm saying something in the class, does everyone in the class has to kind of agree? We would say, no, please. criticize us. Rather, the teachers very consciously brings up topic in a class where there is no right or wrong and encourage the class to question, right? And so typically having classes which are not teacher centric but driven by students, be that role plays, case studies, life case studies, internship opportunities, right, are something that is so beautifully embedded into the programs. And of what you said, building on the executive profile, uh, so to everyone here in the audience, when we say the ability to collaborate, how do you think that ability or that skill set of teamwork can be learned in a university life? Right? No class will teach you, okay, this is how teamwork, this is Parul, what you do, Jaskiran, this is what you do, right? All those opportunities that are created by the university, those have to be leveraged, and those opportunities are not lying only in the classroom. So an opportunity to be a course coordinator, an opportunity to earn while you are learning in the university, so seeking opportunities to take up responsibility either as a paid job during the work that you are into, or maybe taking up volunteer opportunities like being a placecom member. And I'm sure, Parul, when organizations they visit universities for recruitment drives, the first people who you come across are either, of course, the placement team members or the student coordinators, placement coordinators,
Absolutely.
no? So
Absolutely.
right. And so those are the opportunities that become very important for the students to kind of proactively seek. And I think I so much agree to all the 5 points that you made. And if you were to condense them into one, it is taking charge of their own learning and ownership, while the university very proactively supports them uh, and provides them with those opportunities. At the end of the day, bottom line is that it is my program, my life, my future, my work. No?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So very well said, Dr. Jaskiran. And I cannot but not echo the fact that the future of you is in your hands, and no amount of technological advancements or emotional pullbacks can work on or against you. It is you who are in charge of your own future.
Right, great, thank you. So, Parul, if I may just request you, how, like, if you could just share a few examples of how Hero supports and shapes young professionals. So, what are the kind of programs that are undertaken at Hero to promote such skill sets amongst the employees?
Thank you, Dr. Jaskiran, again. This is again a question very close to my heart. I'd like to answer this by keeping in two different cohorts of our, first of all, our intenders who want to work with us, which means how is it that we work on campus with young students like some of them who are here on the call, which is a part of our campus brand strategy. What we do is we run something called as Hero Campus Challenge, which is every new year an addition to a live business case that the students can be a part of, and that runs across for graduate engineer trainees campuses and management trainee campuses. The ones who win definitely get to do either internships or jobs with us. So that's point number one. Second, of course, when we go back and we go ahead and we talk about how is it that one would want to work on a project, we have campus internship programs that run quite fairly. So that is something that is already set up. We really want to work hard on identifying who are the future leaders that we would be happy to work with. The third point is on the lines of how is it that we continue that relationship. So it's not only about key projects that are there, but it is so much more about how is it that we build the whole community as a part of our corporate social responsibility to be more sustainable, to make sure that they follow, whether it is our water targets or our hats targets of being carbon neutral, of making sure that we reduce, reuse, and recycle all our properties. This is a part of how we work with the campus. For our employees, at every level that they work with, whether they have early careers like the ones who join us from campus, or our new managers, which are people managers, we also call them young leaders, the ones who are business leaders and the head of functions, there are different interventions that happen during their life cycle or a change in their roles whenever that may happen, or whether they might be promoted, where the talent management team runs with interventions. Now, there is a proper people process that runs. However, what we also know is that there is a model, and by what we called as a learning model of 70-20-10, the Kirkpatrick model of how one would understand how learning is deployed and how learning is retained within the organizations. Of what we do by ourselves as part of on the project is what we retain as a learning. So that's 70% of what we do. 20% happens when we understand and get coached. So a mentorship or a coaching is another learning methodology that we use. And 10% of it is only on forums like these. We know that 50% of what we are saying it will be retained by the next 24 hours. In fact, if I would request somebody from the audience to repeat what I said, and I might just about ask that, most of the folks would not remember what we just spoke about. It is 35% after 8 hours and a mere 20% in 24 hours. So 50% just right now after I speak, 35% after 8 hours, and 20% after 24 hours, which doesn't give us good confidence of whether or not this works or not. But we really hope it does. We've tried to make sure that there is a change in each and every developmental milestone of the employees that we work with. So, Dr. Jaskiran, we only hope that the young bright minds would go ahead and manage to do their graduate and postgraduate programs with esteemed organizations like BML University. And then when we come to your campus, we are fortunate enough to be able to hire young bright minds such as ours on the audience.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, Parul. And yes, I'm sure, I mean, we had our hearts beating a little louder because we thought that you're going to ask us, okay, what were the percentages that I said, and I was actually memorizing them. Right. But then to all the very young audience, so guys, one is listening and then trying to remember things. But if I just ask all of you all, just think of the last family vacation or with friends that you went out to. That is something I think you will so beautifully recall, at least the moments that were very special and forever etched in your memory. And that, I think, Parul, are the kind of things that you brought into the program. So like say, for example, um, how about in the supply chain and production logistics class, actually visiting a Yakult factory, right? And then it is up to the students, and that when they are visiting a factory, what are the kind of things that they observe, right? One is, of course, the production cycle, but then maybe extending their mindset, so extending their imagination to say, okay, where the raw material might be coming from, where is it going to, how many bottles in a minute, how might they be actually distributing them, so on and so forth. So I think internships in itself are a very beautiful experience. But then when those internships are topped up with critical reasoning and critical thinking, that kind of makes it way more exciting and education hopefully more meaningful for the students, no?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Dr. Jaskiran.
Right. So, and maybe this is a question because most of the students might either be just entering their undergraduate program or their master's program. How should one decide upon their specialization? Right. So normally what happens is when they are studying, right, they like that professor and that professor teaches marketing. So yes, I'm going to go in for marketing specialization, right? Or this professor gives very generous marks. Oh, so this is the discipline that I'm going to go for. But then that's not actually the right way. But then how should these young, passionate hearts uh, decide or opt for their specializations? So while I'll bring in my thoughts from an education viewpoint, how about your thoughts on this?
So let me start my answer with this caveat, Dr. Jaskiran, that you would not like this answer at all. This
Okay.
is my personal story, and
Okay.
it is, I have to say this because I believe that what worked for me might work for someone. So this is just with a disclaimer saying while it worked for me and it worked for me beautifully well, it might not work for all. So this is what my journey looked like. I was born in a place called Delhi, brought up in a place like Ranchi. All I wanted to do was to move out from a small city like Ranchi and move back to a metro. So I came back to Delhi to do my graduation. The second year that I am in, the hostel warden at Daulat Ram calls me out from the whole list of so-called wanting to do BSc honors in zoology, trying to figure out, Parul Sharma, are you sure you're a sciencey? I have never seen you in campus. And of course, how would she see? Because I used to spend my time sleeping in the hostel room. I'm not sure if this is the right forum, but you asked me this. So um, this hurt me to that extent where I believed I had a huge ego. And that is when I started working on my practicals. Because zoology honors, you'll of course have to cut the frog, cut a cockroach or a lizard, and make sure that you have practical copies of it. I went ahead, did my exams. My aunt called me up while I was back home in Ranchi to say, Beta, do you want to know what scores did you get? And I was just wondering how well or not well I have done, to that extent where I said, okay, you can go ahead. And one long afternoon, and it's very interesting because I used to sleep a lot at that point in time. I barely get to sleep now that I have kids, and wonderful work though. She calls me up in the afternoon and my mom hands me the phone and she says, Beta, you've topped the university. I said, no, this is a wrong number. I can't because supposedly I not study hard enough. And incidentally, I did because I did so much more studies that I was one of the toppers in the university. Cut to chase. The third year I was there for my graduation, I realized that no, Parul, you have to do something. And one thing I realized, one thing I was very sure of is that I was not cut for a master's in science. So I decided what a normal person would and say MBA gives you money, is equal to success. So go ahead and do your MBA. I gave in my CAT and SNAP and all of that, and I got through SEMHRD. Now there comes the answer. So I'm looking at the tick that I have to do for specialization. And I say, okay, finance is interesting, but I'm not keen on numbers. Supply chain, I know I won't get monies because I'm not an engineer, but this is interesting. Human resources. I've studied animals in graduation. Let me study humans in post graduation. And this is what my thinking was. And I picked the answer. And believe you me, I ended up being here. I just hope Swati is not listening to this, nor my managers here, because this is how I ended up being. So, by the rule of elimination that worked for me, might not work for some of the audience. But as long as you are the best at what you do and you are at it, you have a very strong work ethic, you will, what I truly believe, achieve what you're wanting to do. To answer your question in a more professional parlance, how I would play this, Dr. Jaskiran, is you don't have to pick up something that's a hobby. because you will have to get monies out of, whatever you're deciding to pursue as a career. You should like your job enough to be want to continue learning in it, and that's a very strong start. What worked for anybody else might not work for you, so you will have to know yourself better before you start moving to the next step. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Absolutely. Right. And I mean, my answer would also happen on very um, similar lines. So, one is unless we experience something, we would not know what do I really want to do. So, experiencing everything. So, you at least experiencing dealing with animals, and then you thought that, okay, humans could be done something with.
I
So, that is
I never said that.
no, the
No.
idea is experiences, Parul. So on a more serious note, right? So that is the very basic reason why the first year of all the disciplines are essentially foundation courses that unless you experience a domain, it becomes very difficult to choose a specialization. But undergoing that experience, I mean, sitting in a marketing class because thinking, oh, I'm to write an exam, versus sitting in the marketing class and thinking, do I want to spend my life doing this? Right. That really makes a lot of difference. Studying not for marks, but studying to realize, do I really want to do this all my life? So if it is making presentations, right? Does making a presentation give me jitters and sleepless nights? Or is it something that gives me a high and I am on the top of the world when I'm making a presentation? So I think the first year of the education, be that undergraduate or the master's program, should be about experiencing very proactively and not for the sake of marks, but for making a life, right? Making a future. So that therefore becomes very important. So here Ayush has the question, and maybe to everyone in the audience, maybe we'll pick up the questions from what you have. And Ayush says, ma'am, I like you did BSc Zoology as your undergraduate. Do you think doing BB as undergraduate has some advantages over other undergraduate courses when your aim is doing an MBA? So Ayush, maybe Parul, I invite you to answer that question, and then maybe I'll share my thoughts too.
Sure, sure. Thanks, Doctor. So, Ayush, this is something that I definitely dwelled on, coming in from, the so-called science background, whether or not an MBA was related to, what I wanted to do. Of course, any graduate degree would bring in what? As a part of what you would want to do as post graduation. The first thing that a post graduation like an MBA would make you learn is that, did you get up every morning and go to college to have a work ethic, whether it is, a sunny day or a hail or a storm or the freezing cold winters that some of us in North India have, to make sure that you consistently went ahead and did something that you not truly like doing on some of the days of the years that you spent your 3 years doing graduation. A BBA would definitely help, because that is the bachelor's of business administration, and officially the master's of business administration is what you get as an MBA. Now there is a huge play around to say, oh, which kind of universities give an MBA and which kind of universities get a PGDM. But I understand that your question is more on the lines of, do I get a master's in management per se or business administration? Yes, any course that you pick up, if you are in the top 10 percentage of wherever you do, you will get picked up, you will get noticed by whether it is the faculty or whether it is the campus interviewer panel that comes from organizations like ours. So, wish you all the very best. If you are having a bio background, wish you all the very best more.
Right. Ayush, I myself was a PCM student, and so 11th, 12th, I had physics, chemistry, maths, and then for my and I did not do too well. Studying physics and chemistry for me was a pain, right? And I would just sit through the classes ki yaar ye matlab 45 minutes ki class hai, when will this get over? But then, and then it was like a mediocre student. And then when I took my undergraduate, the BCom program, it was always like a university topper because I so much love the subjects. So to answer your question, that will studying BBA be an advantages when my ultimate aim is MBA? So Ayush, how I would advise is that if you really love business administration, you must go in for BBA, and post that opt for a work experience of 1 or 2 years, because MBA then therefore will become a more lived experience rather than just a continuation of study. And coming from a bio background, you definitely bring in diversity to the class, so you must do it. Do what you have a heart for, as Parul very rightly said. Right. So moving on the next question, how different is a real workplace from a master's classroom experience? Wow. So Parul, this is like a very tricky question. And why don't you go ahead?
Okay, since you've already passed on the question, Dr. Jaskiran, you're picking up the next one.
Okay.
Kshitij, I hope I'm calling your name right. How different is the real workplace from a master's classroom experience? Believe you me, you have no clue what the corporate world would give you. Any kind of preparation will only help you be more ready. The fact that there is a 10 plus 2 plus 3 or 4 system to get you into the corporate role, to make sure that you do that prep to for you to have a professional career, will not enable you to be ready unless and until you consciously looking for what is it that you can get to be more prepared. And for institutions like uh, you know BML, the fact that they will give you those toolkits to be prepared, to be doubly prepared, to ensure that if there is a task that is given, if there is a project that's need to be delivered, if there is some kind of research that needs to be worked on, how is it that you look at planning, focusing, delivering, and ensuring that you implement the deliverables, is something that institutions would teach you. The fact that you would need to focus on how is it that you get those deliverables via sessions that the institutions arrange, getting in corporate trainers for somebody who has worked in will also help much. So any kind of preparation will always help you. But once you are in the corporate world, depending on which industry it is, depending on what your background is, depending on which role you have, you should always be on your toes, at least for the first 3 years of your career, because perceptions matter a lot. And this is including the hard work that you would do. And Kshitija, all the very best. I understand that this is something that is close to your heart, and hence you asked this question. I hope I have been able to answer you.
Right. So from an hat of an academic, Parul, so the difference between a master's class and a real world corporate experience, to a great extent, depends upon how seriously a student is experiencing the simulation, right? So just like a flight simulator, if one thinks ki, fine, yaar, even if it crashes, that's okay, I'll have a retake, right? There is something that in a simulation, with that mindset, okay, I can always retake. That mindset is there. In a real world, it's
There are
crash
no
is a
retakes.
crash. Absolutely, right? So similarly in an MBA program, uh, so let us say I am a first year student studying marketing, finance, HR, innovation and design thinking, right? Now, if I'm studying these as subjects and in the capstone project where all these come together in a group work, Parul, if let us say we divide, right? This work you do, this work I do. That is something in an MBA class is possible if you plan your education not appropriately. In a real world, that's not happening, right? So I think at the end of the day, Kshitija, it's how serious you are about that MBA experience, and how serious you are about taking it smoothly in the simulation. And therefore, the way the program at BMU has been designed is that there are case studies, there are role plays, there are internships, and then there are live case studies, right? So you are working in the university with real protagonists in real business situation. Now, how seriously you do that, that's all up to you. So once again, that proactiveness. All right.
We have a question from Kavyansh for you, Doctor. Ma'am, how you developed your English or communication skills?
Right. I think it's about practice, right? It is about never mind what people will think about how I speak. I practice, I look myself into the mirror and say, oh, Jaskiran, you do a decent job of it. So that self-confidence really makes a lot of difference. Parul, how
Absolutely.
about you?
Absolutely. So, Doctor, I have a couple of points in my so-called tips in my kitty.
Sure,
The
please.
first is that I remember my parents getting very upset because they caught me reading books in the middle of the night under the blanket with a torch, and I used to love reading books, and that is something that I've always kept close. So even if in today's world I get to read while I travel, and I love the feeling that a hard copy would have. So definitely not any of the e-readers. For me, read, and read as much as possible. Now, whether it is a book, whether it is an essay, or whether it is something on the news, uh, pick up something and start from daily exercises to say, no matter what, I will read for 10 minutes. Once you have that, and as a alarm in on your phones, and I know 100% of you have phones, the fact that you do this will definitely help you tomorrow, if not today. The second is, if you don't like to read, whatever you're reading, throw it away, not literally, throw it away and pick up something else to read, but you do your 10 minutes. The second thing that I would recommend is the fact that when you are talking, and that's okay, you can close your room and then take your phone and record yourself while you're talking. So keep up to 40, 50, 100 words, record. And then what you do is you play that with your eyes closed so you hear the tone of what you're saying. And the next thing that you do is you look at the video without the voice, the audio over, and you see how you are being seen, how you are being heard. So that when you practice this next time with the gestures and with the eye movements and the hand movements, your conversations become more plausible, more authentic, and that help increase your effectiveness as a business communicator. I hope I've been able to give
Very
some tips.
interesting. I've never experienced something like that. I'll to try that for sure. So I think I know it's 5 o'clock, but there is this last one very interesting question, Parul, which I thought is something that's meant for you exactly. So what you think of what you think of next 10 years? Would you hire a person expensive but reliable? Oh, just a second, reliable and answerable for a job, or will you go for a cheaper, less reliable AI?
Ayush, you and I have to connect after this call. So drop me a message. The fact that you've asked this is a very smart question, first of all. Whether it is today or tomorrow, will definitely look at the role for which I am hiring to be able to utilize the right technology, whether it is let's say I need somebody for management information systems or reports. And that can be done by enabling somebody from my HR digital transformation team to build up a system process and then have it run. The email can come to me once every week or once every month or once every quarter for the data and the insights that I need to get generated. That is one. The second is if I need somebody to be able to work as a strategic human resources partner, a business partner, a definitely a definite answer is that AI is not going to help me that. Although there are tools like Amber and Lena AI who help develop, push in notifications like questions to employees to say, hey, how are you doing today? But most of my employees are smart enough to say, don't bother me. I will not respond to a bot. So for us, it will always be, and I can say that for my people function, the one that I lead here at Hero MotoCorp, is the fact that there will be roles, there will be transactional roles that will be taken up by AI. So make sure that you get into a field which is something to do with whether it is creativity, whether it is innovation, whether it is empathy, the soft skills or critical thinking, the ones that might not be learnt by repetitive transactional usage. Also, the fact that uh, if you are there as somebody who supports your manager, you will be invaluable in the long term. So ultimately, it will just depend on the role that I'm looking to hire for.
Great. Thank you so very much. Chitrita, would you want to take over? So there is Lavanya for digital twins and simulation tools. You may please write to the team and they'll be more than happy to maybe share the course details. It's one of the most interesting course of the recent editions that have happened to all the curriculums. So I advise you to do that. Chitrita, yeah, back to you.
Thank you. This session, it helped me learn so many useful things, how we can all build confidence by reading daily, practicing in front of the mirror, and all the other very actionable tips. So I know there are a lot of questions. They're still appearing. We will reach out to you and answer all your questions. Some counselors will reach out to you. A big thank you to our speakers for sharing their stories and advice. We hope this helped our listeners feel a little more clear and confident about the road ahead. Thank you everyone for your time, your insights, and for sharing these honest experiences. Thank you
Thank you,
so much,
Chitita.
Parul. Thank you so much, Jaskiran.
Thank you so much. There is one person without whom we would not have this possible, and that's my dear colleague, Garima. Garima, if you
Yes.
can quickly come on the call. So this is my colleague, Garima. Thank you, Chitrita, for your support. I knew this was not as much time bound as you would like it to be, but I'm so glad that we could meet up Dr. Jaskiran as well. Looking forward to meeting you in person. So thank you everyone for the ones in the audience who joined us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone. Parul, great talking to you yet again. Garima, thank you so very much. Chitrita, thanks for organizing this. And to a big thank you to all this lovely audience and very enthusiastic responses. Thanks. And yeah, bye till we meet again.
See you soon. Bye. Bye-bye.